Hi everyone, this is Dan and this is Disintegration Street, Volume 1 by Brenden Swan. This is an Indiegogo campaign comic. This was actually delivered to me back in June, or early in this month, I believe. And one of the few comic book crowdfunding campaigns that delivered exactly on time and was done on schedule. And not only was it on time and on schedule, but this is a fairly substantial book, about, let's say, like 100-something pages. He doesn't actually number his pages, so I don't really know. And some of you may be familiar with the previous review I did a couple weeks ago on Strangelove, I Want to Be Chrome, which was his first crowdfunded comic book. Very good book. It was a saddle stitch book in traditional black and white, which was kind of what he was going for, manga. This book, on the other hand, is in color. And not only is this book in color, but I don't know if you can tell by looking at the colors, this is traditional colors. In this case, I know exactly how he did this because I have the same tools myself. He used Copic alcohol markers. So these, Copic calls these alcohol markers, by the way, but they're actually technically oil colors, oil-based colors. But they use alcohol as the primary primer liquid to go down. So Copic markers are extremely popular in the Japanese manga industry. Generally, when manga has what they call color pages, which usually are sort of teaser pages, a lot of times in sort of weekly releases, they will do like 1 or 2 pages, or maybe the intro page, or maybe just an artistic spread in color, just so people, sort of like a treat within it, because normally manga is almost all black and white. They'll typically do a color spread or just 1 or 2 pages in color just as a treat to the readers. Again, color is not a standard in the Japanese market like it is in the American and the European market. But anyway, I've kind of babbled on long enough. I want to mention one thing about Disintegration Street. So this campaign, Indiegogo campaign, only raised about $2,000. Not a lot of money. And this is what he produced for everyone for $2,000. Now, to be fair, I know for a fact that this is digital printing, and you can tell with the sort of the stock feel and the finish, it doesn't give the feel of extreme quality. Though I will say I am kind of impressed with the printing for this digital printer. And it actually, even though like this kind of got roughed up, pretty quickly when I started reading it, it does feel like it can hold up because I've read this book like I think 3 times now. So enormous props to Brenden Swan. The amount of value that he gave to you for how much little that he provided, right? Like as an example, right? This guy, Brenden Swan, raised less money than Micah Curtis's Inglewood, Part 1, and Dan Fan's Orgasm Girl. And he provided way more value in the same amount. And I think there's 2 reasons, and he also did it on schedule too. So whatever can be said about the quality of the book, you have to be impressed and honestly admire the work ethic that Brenden Swan showed here. Now, I will say this, he didn't do a very good job of advertising. I think I did, I kind of shouted out the book on one of my old last week on the Indiegogo shows, and I think maybe a few people, I know Narwhal knows of Brenden Swan and likes Brenden Swan a lot, but not many people know about him, unfortunately, and that is something that Brenden Swan's going to need to work on, is either find someone who can advertise him or learn how to advertise himself a little bit better. Because in my opinion, he is a creator that I think should continue to keep creating. And I would feel really sad and depressed if he gave up on doing this stuff just because he didn't raise a lot of money. I think, even if this genre and this art style isn't your thing, I think his work ethic and his follow-through is so admirable. I really hope he continues to keep making stuff because I personally enjoy it, and it's so rare to see a crowdfunded comic provide this much value for the money, because this package, I think I bought this for like 20 bucks, I think. I think the whole thing was 30 bucks. Was what I bought it for. I forget how much this came in as. But even if it was the standard Comicsgate price, like, this is what you should get for $25 from someone, right? You should get $25 of something that, you know, looks like it came from the heart, that has a lot of content in it, and was also delivered on time. Cannot emphasize that enough. Being on time is so rare in crowdfunded comics that you know, that alone really deserves some praise from Brenden Swan. Anyhow, let's get into this book. So, Disintegration Street is essentially a slice of life mystery romance comedy type of manga. Very similar to Strangelove, the previous comic book he did. The difference is his art aesthetic is totally different in this book. Strangelove was much more of traditional black and white manga. He was using gray tones and zipatone techniques because he was doing black and white. Oddly enough, it's in an American comic format, which is very interesting. It really gives it an interesting feel to it. But this, on the other hand, is more of the manga size aspect ratio. This is, I think, 3:2 aspect ratio. So not exactly the manga format, but pretty close. And this is more of a tribute to color mangas. So color mangas are kind of rare. They do them in Japan, but they tend to be of a particular type. And they're also usually kind of old. Not many. They're really from the decades in the past. I kind of know this from doing a little bit of research and also kind of looking up what Brenden Swan was thinking of when he was trying to do this book. So, and because of that, they all tended to use the Copic markers, which are Japanese in origin. So you can see the technique right here to this color manga. They also have a very different inking and line art style from other mangas of the era and of the modern era. But going into Disintegration Street as it is, we're kind of introduced mysteriously to these two girls. This is Charlotte. She's waking up and she meets this girl called Lillian. And we get into kind of a weird conversation of like, hey, you fell into a sinkhole. I don't know, you know, who you are, but, you know, I'm wondering if you came here for this town called Disintegration Street. It's a very interesting and weird town, and I'm here for the occult. And it's a lot of, you know, manga, mystery, horror tropes going on here. And this book, unlike, I would say, and I'm going to jump around a bit, I don't want to ruin too much of this book's plot because I think it is a book that you definitely should pick up and support. If there was really somebody on Indiegogo that I think absolutely deserves more support from people who check out crowdfunded comics, it's Brenden Swan. Even though, you know, I know a lot of people are just more into superhero comics and reading superhero stuff. And this obviously is not. This is definitely slice of life romance, comedy, mystery. But this book is very fun. And I think what Brenden Swan was trying to accomplish here with this very stylized and almost odd art style that he has going on here and trippy stuff is he was trying to experiment more outside of what he did in Strangelove. And I would say to Brenden, I would say about 75% of the time your experiments work in Disintegration Street. And then unfortunately the other 25% of the time they don't really work all that well. So let me show you an example of where it doesn't work too well. So this character Jezebel gets introduced as sort of a roommate to Charlotte and Lillian. And when you see here, you get the idea of like, okay, so it's kind of stylized. She's a busty woman, attractive redhead. And then you get like, what? And I think to Brenden, you want to be careful. Like, these panels work. This panel works. This panel really doesn't work. So, you know, and there's a couple of them. I'd say like, you know, 1 out of every 4 to 1 out of every 6 panels are like that in this book, where I think he goes a little too far over. And I know another thing that he did a lot in this book was he drew everything freehand. And I can tell some things were drawn freehand, especially like backgrounds and stuff like this, right? Like some of it looks interesting and I kind of respect the effort. But I think for backgrounds, and especially something where you're establishing a background or a scene, I think it would be better to go back to using the straight edges and the rulers and using proper perspective, or, you know, maybe distorted perspective, maybe fisheye lens or something like that. I think the freehand is just a little too rough. And it kind of just distracts you and takes you out of the story. What I will say is Brenden Swan's actually kind of funny. He's a pretty funny writer, and I think he's got a talent for the slice of life stuff. I think his only weakness right here is he needs an editor to kind of clean up his work, right? So what I mean is a lot of this book has jumping around from scene to scene. And a lot of times I think it would be a lot better if he had use of more caption boxes to catch up the reader and kind of flow them into these scenes, especially since his sequential art has a lot of like hard cuts. He's not really animating through his panels. So I think it would be significantly better to utilize some caption boxes here and there and explain what's going on. Now, he may not be comfortable with doing that because that's probably more of an American technique and he's going for more of a manga Japanese aesthetic. But, you know, you could do that too. The Japanese do that a lot as well. Araki does that a lot in JoJo. So something to think of just for Brenden. You know, obviously he only raised $2,000 off this, so hiring an editor is not reasonable at that low level of money raised. So I think in those instances, you really have to slow yourself down, Brenden, and think about how the reader reads it and how they're going to interpret things. And just remember, if you screw up and you already drew it and the art necessarily doesn't do a good job of explaining it, don't be afraid to utilize caption boxes, narration, something to clean it up so that there's no confusion, unless the confusion is your intention. Which is the other aspect about this book. There's a level of, this is a mystery book, so you are kind of left in the dark, and you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and sometimes kind of go with it with this book. So if you're not a fan of mystery or kind of being left out in the dark with certain details on purpose, this book might not be for you. Obviously, if the art style doesn't appeal to you, obviously this book wouldn't be for you. For me, I actually really like this art style, even though it is very, very stylized. It kind of reminds me of like a fusion of French and Japanese styles. It's really cool. By the way, for those of you who are fans of Strangelove, these characters do return for cameos in DisintegrationStreet, which is really cool. Again, I know I'm being kind of general and vague, and I'm just really just showing off the book and talking in general terms of my review for it. The short and dirty is DisintegrationStreet is a town where ghosts and real people live together, and Charlotte and Lillian work together with this character Gon and this character Akiko to try to solve the mystery of children being swallowed up by sinkholes in this city. It's also, they find out, you know, also a murder, suicide mystery that they're also trying to solve as well as all the secrets to why DisintegrationStreet is such a weird and odd and sort of supernatural town, right? I know that was kind of like the 500-foot view of the plot here, but again, this is like 180 pages, so I can't necessarily go through the same detail that I like to go through with the more compressed books I have. But yeah, no, this to me, if you're gonna do a manga style book, crowdfund, I mean, this to me, this is the way to go. This is awesome. This is really well done, Brenden Swan. It's not perfect. You got to work on some things, but I have zero regret for any of the money that I spent on this book or Strangelove. I got a lot of entertainment out of all of them, and I got a lot of ideas too. Since I am similar to Brenden in that I use Copics and I draw, like lately I've been using, Copic drawing pens, my brush pen. Obviously, a big fan of multi-liner SPs. This book has given me a lot of ideas. And I'm not saying I'm going to copy necessarily the style or the approach. I think every artist is unique to themselves, but I really appreciated going through this. This was really, really cool. And definitely, also more importantly, it was really entertaining, even if it was flawed. This was a fun book and really hilarious in certain parts. Anyhow, I know that was general, guys, but you know, I want to, in this particular instance, I do want to protect this book and make sure that people give this book a shot. Especially Brenden, if you're watching this, please put your books up for reprint and resale on like a store or eBay or something, because I think as more people discover you, dude, more people are going to want these books, and you got to make them available. I know it's tough. Maybe try eBay. Try what Ethan Van Sciver does. Maybe that's probably the easiest way to go. But this is good stuff, man. This is good stuff. Anyhow, let me do some art here. So I kind of decided, so for those of you who know, I am out of ink right now. So I am actually out of E1, E00, or E000, and E11, which are my skin tone inks. And because of that, I actually drew Charlotte here with YR 000. And, you know, you can't notice it in this video, but I was kind of trying to experiment with sort of the way Brenden was doing his colors here with the skirt and everything. And it's kind of fun and interesting. I kind of try to be a little loose like he is in his artwork right here. So this was kind of fun to do. And again, you're probably wondering why I haven't been doing the colors and stuff with the previous issue. That's because, again, as I said, I'm out of coloring ink right now. I'm kind of waiting for a new shipment to refill my Copics. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. And, you know, one of the advantages to having sort of this loose style that you can just kind of have fun with is a lot of times, even though things can go disastrously wrong if you get a little too crazy, you can go really fast and also enjoy it at the same time. And it's tough because you can screw it up a lot easier compared to being more methodical and structural with the more realistic art style that American comics have. This art style right here is very fun and economical, and I'm not surprised why, you know, like for example, YA and manga, why they dominate in terms of not only popularity but also just getting out more content than the American stuff. You know, it just kind of is what it is, man. You gotta respect speed and hard work, man. Anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I know this was kind of all over the place, but you know, I kind of I want to be very I think fair to this book and kind of point out things for the creator Brenden Swan to improve on. But at the same time, try to convince you, the viewers right here, to, especially if he puts this out on re-release, to check it out, especially if you're a fan of a romantic comedy, mystery, mangas. Absolutely check out Disintegration Street. And even if you're not a fan, if you're just sort of a crowdfunding comic book collector and stuff, check it out as well, because I think this one is going to go down as one of those rare treats that people missed. And I think they're going to, that and Strange Love, I think they're going to regret that they missed out on, because it was a great, great campaign. Nothing but mad respect to Brenden Swan here. Anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments on Disintegration Street by Brenden Swan or my art, leave it down below. And I will see you next time.